Okay. I'm going to give you a link that will redirect to the right place as soon as the stream starts.
Hey, Caelan, you went a little bit choppy
Because
since the
everything
last.
is happening right now. All right, I'm going to quit OBS because
Yeah,
OBS
we're
has
not.
failed. Here we
Yeah, one
go. Okay.
thing.
All right. So please, could somebody please put that in the chat box?
Yes, I can do that. In the YouTube
Great.
chat box?
In the YouTube chat box and tell them we'll be meeting over there.
Oh, I see.
Yep. Sorry, everybody. If you're watching this on the replay, this is what we call technical difficulties.
Okay, now I see it.
Oh, whoops. And thinking on the fly and coming up with backup plans and making
Yeah.
them happen.
Well, this is a lot of what happens when we're leading Zoom meetings is, oh my gosh, the tech exploded and I got to figure something out right now. So, hi everybody who's joining us. I hope if you went to the original link, you found the redirect and now you're watching this on the live stream or you're watching it on the replay. However you got here, I'm glad you're here. My name's Caelan Huntress and I'm together with 3 other amazing virtual facilitators and we're going to talk shop and talk about what it's like hosting meetings on Zoom. Amy, tell us all about who you are, what you do, and why you're amazing.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Amy Clymer. I live in the U.S. in Asheville, North Carolina. And I do a lot around helping teams and organizations lead more effective meetings, better trainings. And I also teach a lot around innovation and creativity. And Jan, tell us about you.
So my name is Jan. I am originally from Germany, but I live in Canada at this moment. And my mission in life is really to help people feel less alone. So I've been dedicating my life to helping people get from small talk to deep, meaningful conversations and connections. And I do this in person and now also through Zoom and being virtual. And one of the things I'm most excited about these days is teaching those skills to other people so they can impact more people feeling less alone and more connected. So I don't have to do all the work by myself. And I think all 4 of us are doing some really important work this year. So that's a bit about me. But Melissa, what about you?
Hi, I am Melissa Dinwiddie. My company is called Creative Sandbox Solutions, and I help take the board, B-O-R-E-D, out of virtual boardrooms. And I help companies increase productivity and creativity and improve communication and things like that, all using play-based methods and live drawn visuals. That's what I do.
Awesome. I'm so glad to be sharing a Zoom room with all of you today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Caelan Huntress. I live in New Zealand, and I'm the creative director of a digital marketing agency called Stellar Platforms, where I help entrepreneurs make more money in less time through smart marketing systems. And so I geek out on this tech a lot, and that's what I did a lot of today, was trying to set up the live stream. So my picture might be different than everybody else's picture. I'd like all of us to clap on the count of 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. So we're not exactly in sync because my computer is streaming right now. And we're going to improvise and have fun and play some games. Over the course of the next hour, we're going to play some games. We're going to ask some questions of each other about what's working and not working in Zoom meetings. And we're going to share some practical tools and techniques for using this tech and other tech that you can use with Zoom to lead great Zoom meetings. And we're going to start with a game called Proverbs. This is one of my favorite games, and it was taught to me by Melissa. All you got to do for this is you got to get a grid of people. And so if I have, 20 people, I'll ask for volunteers and ask everybody who's not a volunteer to turn off their camera. Hit that stop video button until you get a grid. And you can even have people rename themselves so they know the order. So everybody who's on the call, click on the participants button down on the bottom, and you get that list of everybody who's here. Go to the blue more button and go to rename. Now everybody put a number before your name. I'm gonna be 1. Amy, you're 2. Jan, you're 3. Melissa, you're 4. But put your name next to the number 2, Amy, so that way we don't forget who you are and just call you 2.
Got it.
Great. So now we have an order, and each of us is going to say one word. I'm going to start because I'm number 1, and I'm going to say a word. And then Amy will say a word. And Jan will say a word. And Melissa will say a word. And we're going to put our hands together like this. This is my favorite part of the exercise, Melissa. When you did this, it like really made it just so perfect. And so you tap your fingers together because this is what wise people do when we say Proverbs. And so we'll go in order until we reach a natural stopping point, and then we will say, yes, 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 because we've said something wise, okay? So I will start. It
Was.
Hey.
Very.
long
Year.
For.
Every.
animal
In.
The.
World.
except
Or.
A.
Big.
elephant. Yes,
Yes, yes, yes, yes, yes, yes.
I love that we all just did that at the same time. We just knew it was done. Nice.
Amy, would you like to
Was it
start one?
At the same time?
Sure. What'd you say, Jan?
Was it really at the same time because we're not in sync?
Well,
I just translated that
Right.
way.
okay. Sometimes
When.
We.
Can't.
develop
Any.
Time.
Be.
pretend
You.
Go.
Under.
around.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, that's great.
Great. Jan, why don't you lead one?
Above.
Ground.
There.
Might
Be.
Large.
Chasms.
that
Destroy.
what?
Destroy.
All.
Living.
Elephants.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, Melissa, bring it home. Let's lead one more.
Whenever.
You.
Jump.
I.
You.
Will.
Need.
Parachutes.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
That was
Oh,
great.
that's awesome.
Thank you for all that wisdom. I'm feeling very wised up. That was great. Amy, why don't you lead us in a game?
Okay. All right. So this is, I don't know, game / challenge that I sometimes do with my clients. So I got to give a shout out to Mark Collard in Australia who taught me this. So I'm using a tool called Padlet, which is a software tool. You'll see it in a moment. And you can do a ton of things with it. And one of the things that I did is develop this series of challenges. And so I'm just going to give you a glimpse of it and give you a chance to play with it. We won't get through all of it because it would take, 20, 30 minutes. But okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a link in the chat box for you all to go to. And if you could click on that link, and I'll also share my screen. I'll just do it through Ecamm. Whoops, hold on. There we go. All right, so everybody is seeing, everybody's seeing the screen, and basically, let me see, can I zoom in? Does that zoom in more? Yeah. All right, so here's the challenge. Is you all need to work together to decipher the code at the bottom of the page. You can use any resources you want. And when you get the correct answer, you're gonna click on this link and it's going to have a password protected, page. Your answer to this challenge is the password to the next challenge. So I'm gonna just give you all a couple minutes to play with this.
Oh my God.
Right, and we're gonna solve this as a team, right?
Yes.
So I think it looks like Morse code to me. I'm just
It does
pulling
look
up
like
like a
Morse
Morse
code.
code thing,
Dot
like
dot
2 dots, and a
dash.
line is U.
Oh wow, this is super cool and geeky.
Yeah.
And then two and three is I and S. So UIS, does that U is? Can maybe somebody read the Morse code? So because I'm switching pages.
I wish
Like
I had paid
long,
attention in
short,
Boy
long,
Scouts.
short.
I have no idea.
Seriously.
Long, short. Trying to find it in the table here.
Yeah, they're
C.
short, short, long.
Then 3 times long is O.
So what was that?
Long, short. C
What was
O.
that first letter? C-O?
Short, long, short.
Are the slashes part of the code or are they dividers?
I think they're dividers between
Between words.
something.
Between words?
Yeah. Are all of these in Morse code, Amy, or does it change around into different types of puzzles?
No, it changes around in different types of puzzles.
No.
So if y'all want to stop and see the next one, I can give you the answer to this one.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to put the answer in the chat box. And actually, one of you want to share your screen. And it's all lowercase. You got to include the spaces and the punctuation. Caelan,
Oh, it
can
has
you
an ellipsis in there? Wow.
No. Sorry. Just it is cold up here.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'll share my screen real
So they
quick.
can see you enter the password.
Okay. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to click here to enter the answer in lowercase. And it is, can't be that whole thing. It's cold in here. Submit.
Up here.
I got it incorrect. It's cold up here. It's
Period.
cold up here. Period.
Oh, here.
No period. No.
Just copy and paste it from the chat.
Okay. Chat. Zoom is always moving my chat box. Come on. It is cold up here. Boom. No, even a copy and paste didn't do it.
Did you add the period?
I will add the period. Hooray! Got it. Oh, that was fun. That was
Nice.
fun. Great. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Here, let me stop sharing my screen.
So, Jan, tell us about a game you like to play.
All right. I totally want to continue this scavenger hunt.
I know.
So my thing.
It's kind of addicting, isn't it?
It is. It's like an escape room. So my game is called the Whisper Challenge, but and usually in person, one person would wear headphones and they try to lip read what the other person is saying. But luckily on Zoom, we have this amazing thing called the mute button. So we don't even need to whisper, which means I'll be sending one volunteer a phrase in the chat and they just say that phrase while being on mute and everybody else tries to guess. And everybody else can be unmute or use the chat if the group's larger. I think for us, if we all are unmuted, we can just chat and see who gets it. Although with a time delay, who knows who gets it first.
Right.
We'll figure that out. But I'll need one volunteer who would like to be our, yeah, perfect, Melissa. So let me go to private chat. and give you a phrase or word. And put yourself on mute. And now that you've received the word, you get to say it. And let's see if Caelan or Amy will find it out first. I already know it, so I'm not going to play.
Wisconsin.
I was gonna say what holiday?
Try it again. Keep saying it until they find it.
What holiday is like the best I can interpret that as?
Can you do it again?
What? Donald. Not that one. Please, not that one.
The first one, really slowly and really enunciate.
Water Canyon? Watching jockeys.
Watching? Is that it?
You have the first letter correct. It's it's 2 words, and you got the first letter of each word correct.
Okay, just say normal. Just say normal.
Walter Charles.
Watching Jolly?
Wally?
Wait, can you just say it normal? Like, not so enunciated. But slow.
Waffle hitting.
Let's see if I can say it at the same time as you move your lips, Melissa. On the count of 3, but we're not in sync, so it's not going to work. But let's try anyways. 1, 2, 3. Walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie.
Oh man, I never would have got that. That's hilarious.
So I played this activity at the beginning of a session, but I used phrases and words that actually mattered to the content. So we're already starting to prime ourselves with what are maybe some key phrases or key learnings that will develop within the next session. But just a fun way to start. If you have the right volunteer, that is up for it.
What a fun!
That's great. What a fun activity. I love it.
Yeah, Melissa,
Right.
why don't you share a game with us too?
Yes.
Yeah, so this actually is my favorite warm-up activity of all time. I love to do this for my in-person retreats, workshops, and virtual. It works great for virtual as well. And I call it internally, I call it the present time dance, but don't tell anybody that I call it that, because whenever you use the word dance, it freaks people out. It's not really dancing at all. What we're going to do is we're going to make one at a time a sound and movement or gesture combination that expresses how we feel right in this moment. So I'm going to start, and then you're all going to copy me. So this is how I feel right in this moment. Okay, so everybody, you copy me. That's it. And so now I'm going to take an invisible ball. I'm going to take some air and I'm going to squish it together into an invisible ball. And I'm going to throw it through my webcam to Amy. Are you ready to catch it, Amy? Okay, here you go. Catch the ball. Now you get to make, and go ahead and unmute yourself so we can hear you. You're going to make a sound and movement combination that expresses how you feel right in present time right now. Without thinking. Yeah, perfect. Great. And now you can throw the ball to somebody else.
All right, Caelan.
Got it. I'm feeling.
Everybody can copy Caelan.
That was so great to see with the time delay. It was like a waterfall.
And you can throw the ball to Jan.
I'm going to throw it. Which way would I go? It would be up here. Jan!
Thank you. So I am feeling Because I
Great.
just checked our live stream and it looks like we couldn't click send the link to the new video, and there were a bunch of people having a conversation, so I just posted it again, and I'm hoping that they're now coming over. I hope that they can see it. They are saying we should use a bit.ly link, but now there's 11 people here. If you're here and watching, can you comment in the chat and let us know?
That we're not here all alone.
Yes, because there's a bunch of people having a full-on conversation in the other chat, I just noticed.
Which is awesome that they're just, going in there and talking.
I will put the link in again. Jeez, I'm so sorry.
Technology.
Well, it luckily is recorded, so if you're just joining us, you can always watch the beginning after we're done.
Infinity cringe.
Infinity cringe, that's a great word.
What I love about this activity that we just did, which we may have been the only ones to see, those of us who were actually here together in this Zoom room, is that not only is it an exercise of getting to see what everybody, the experience of everybody who's in the room with you, but you get to actually take it on. So it's a fabulous exercise in empathy. Nice. That's one of the things I really love about it. And it also really does bring you into present time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's have a discussion about some of the things that we want to know more about Zoom, because we've been around Zoom for a little while, but we've got some good brains here. So let's take advantage of this brain trust and pose some questions to each other. Jan, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, and that's exactly the topic I want to talk about who goes first. And this is a very small part of facilitating with groups, is the idea of you send people for an activity in pairs or a small group. And on Zoom, because we are the timer starts running as soon as people get to the room and we want to get a lot of things done, I don't like to waste time with doing small talk or introductions, because you never know if they're actually getting to the activity. So I like to give people some instruction so they can get started right away, which is who starts, who shares first for a question or an activity. And in person, I usually did the same thing, but it wasn't so much about the time. It was also about adding a little bit of humor, of adding something that helps people connect with each other. And one of the things I used to say after I heard it for the first time, like, this is so good, I'm going to use it, which was, the person with the shortest hair goes first. And me being, and you can see my hat, me being the person with the shortest hair, most of the time I would go first, and I would, that would be fine for me. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but the more I've used it, the more I would see certain people kind of using the word cringe, because it just came up in the chat, or just get a bit uncomfortable. And even one person shared with me once that just making everyone look at their hair when that is something that they're very self-conscious about is maybe not the best way to start an activity. And the more I started thinking about this, I started to change all the kind of fun things I've had developed on who goes first. And I stopped using a bunch of them, which meant now I'm down to only 2, 3 that I still use, because they don't draw attention to people, but they're not the most fun, or they don't help people connect with each other so much. So the ones I still use is the person whose name comes first in the alphabet is really just there to help people look at each other's names and then choose a person who goes first. Doesn't really help connecting, or is not really funny either. Or a person whose birthday is coming up next. Also, maybe people who are both have the birthday in the same month, they would connect with each other a little bit, but I could see there be a lot more potential for cool prompts. So I'm really curious if anybody else has either used something that has totally failed, which I have some stories about too, or used something or has some ideas on things we could use to make this a fun connection moment for people.
Yeah,
and
well,
we don't have to order for this, so Melissa.
I have used one that didn't work so well, which was the number of windows in your room. And that is problematic because sometimes it's very frequent that people have the same number of windows in their room. And so it's not a good determiner. So, but I've used the brightest clothes, and I've also used things like the oldest person with the oldest chair. But the problem with these things is that then it can turn into a lengthy conversation to determine, well, is my chair older? Is your chair older? I don't know how old my chair is. And really, the goal of these questions to determine who goes first is to get quickly into the activity, as well as, like you say, Jan, to have a little bit of humor and to connect people. But really, that's nice and that's great. But really, the goal is to not spend a lot of time determining who goes first, so that you can go quickly into the activity. So you don't spend 5 minutes deciding who goes first, and then suddenly you're taken right back into the main room and you've never gotten to the activity.
Yeah, that's a great point, Melissa. And if you give everybody time to contribute on something about their environment or their persona, then that all adds on layers of complexity. But what I like is doing something really simple. I'm going to share my screen here. While you were asking that question, Jan, I went ahead and threw this together. This is flippity.net, and I went and made a spreadsheet and set together a wheel so that I could say, Melissa, you go next. And it took 2 minutes to get this together. Flippity's a free tool. You can go to flippity.net and get this random name picker. And in this same tool, you can do lineups. So you can say, okay, everybody, we're going to go in this order. Wait, I'm going to shuffle it. And we're going to do, well, Amy's still first. Jan, you're first. And then Melissa, you're next. And then Amy. And so this is a really great practical tool for immediately deciding who's going to go next.
I love it.
Very cool.
Oh, I wanted to share a couple things that are coming in on the chat, which I think are great. Kirsten says, who woke up first? So that could be like a pretty quick, easy one. Who got up first this morning? Longest, shortest hair? Who lives the furthest away? Most number of letters in their name? Which I think, Melissa, most of these get to that point of like, let's just quickly figure this out. Maybe who lives the furthest away would be a bit long. I wanted to share one other kind of a different angle to this. And I got this idea from Patrick Lencioni, who wrote 5 Dysfunctions of a Team like 20 years ago. And in there, he's talking, there's an element that a big part of functional teams is having a high level of trust. And one of those ways to increase trust is to increase vulnerability and people to open up and share more. And he actually recommends that if you're doing something like that, where it is quite vulnerable, that leaders go first. And I think that like when I learned about that many, many years ago, I thought, oh, wow, because usually often the leader will step back and let other people, their colleagues go first. But if you're trying to get people to be vulnerable, it can be helpful to lead the way by going first. So
that's, I'm glad you brought that up, Amy. That's when I do that present time dance, I strongly recommend this. If you do that activity, the goal of that activity is to get people to move their bodies and make a sound, which is vulnerable, right? Yeah. So if you're going to lead an activity like that as a facilitator, it's really essential that you go first. And I try to make my movements really wild and crazy to kind of create a container for participants to allow themselves to be vulnerable. So if I'm being really wild and crazy, then they're probably not going to go nearly as wild and crazy as I am, but it shows them that they can be vulnerable as well. So you're absolutely right. When leaders go first, then it opens up the space for everybody else to be vulnerable.
Great point.
Yeah. And I think. Okay.
Yeah, even after you as a facilitator go, if an actual leader, like manager of a team, is also present, they would have to go next.
Yeah. And I guess that's actually what I was thinking. Yeah, and that's kind of more what I was thinking, that I think your point, Melissa, for something like totally makes sense for you to go first as a facilitator, but sometimes it makes sense for, say, the CEO to go first.
Yeah. So like if I'm facilitating in a group and the CEO's there, then I would throw the ball to them very intentionally. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Can I try one really quick idea that I just was brainstorming this morning on who goes first? Can everybody grab a random object and hide it in your hand or in your hands? Just grab any object, like whatever you have closest to you. And I probably should say that next time you only have 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1. Okay, everybody hold up your object.
Oh, show it?
Like show it. And now I would say person with the largest object starts. But we're not talking about the objects. So I could ask everyone to grab an object while we're still in the main room. Once you get to the breakout, everybody hold up your object, and the person with the largest or whatever characteristic we want to put, longest object will go first. The object with the most holes goes first, whatever we want to do it. And I think that will help creating this moment of connection. I think it's fast enough, not take a lot of time, unless there's some objects that people really want to talk about.
I like that. It's fast and it's separate from the conversation that you're having.
I love it. Fun.
That's a great idea.
Nice. Melissa, do you have a question for us as well?
Yeah, you know what I'm really curious about is I have been facilitating so much on Zoom, but I know there's so many other platforms that are out there, and I'm wondering if other people are facilitating on other platforms, and what they like, what they don't like, what are you using?
Well, Zoom has kind of become the lingua franca, like it's the interface that most people know. I find in corporate, a lot of people are using Teams, but they don't like it. Team, it's a closed system, and so it's hard to get people from outside your ecosystem into a Teams meeting. What's so great about Zoom is that it's open and available for everybody. But what Zoom doesn't do really well is that interpersonal communication. And so I'm finding that a lot of virtual conferences that want to mimic that bump into each other in the hallway kind of conversation, they're using platforms like Remo or Hopin. And what I love about those is that they facilitate a breakout room but it's more than just a breakout room. In Remo, you can select a table to go to and have 2 or 3 or 6 people in a small room with you, and you can hop from table to table. Hopin has this button at the top that says network, and you click it and you're put into a room with a random pairing of a person with a 4-minute timer at the top. So you just talk, you chat a little bit, and then it's okay, great, now I'm on to the next thing. And so I think the more that we can get that interpersonal communication, the more that we can overcome the few limitations that Zoom does have.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't, usually when people say, "Oh, do you use other platforms?" and my initial response is not unless I have to, because I do think that Zoom is. It really has become the most widely used, and people are comfortable with it. But like you said, Caelan, that a lot of corporate groups are using Teams. But one of the things that I've noticed is there's so often this disconnect between the IT department and facilitators. And the IT department loves Microsoft Teams. I don't know why, because I don't know enough about the IT angle, but facilitators don't. And I feel like, especially in a smaller organization where you have some more influence, there might need to be some conversations, like some connections there from the facilitators to the IT for the facilitator to say, hey, this is what we need in a platform. And this platform you selected for us isn't serving us. So let's figure out, a way around that, or how we can best meet our needs. So I don't know. I've just noticed that disconnect sometimes.
Yeah, I'm also like a 95% Zoom user, because even with the things that aren't as well designed, I've gotten to the point where I know the workarounds, or I've adjusted my workshops programming in a way that I can work with it. But I'm hoping, just seeing how many new platforms are out there, especially this year, trying to fill the kind of that space where Zoom does not work that greatly or that perfectly. I'm quite excited to at one point go like, okay, this is the workshop, this is the content, which platform is the best fit to get the end result? And sometimes it will still be Zoom because of like them having a stable mobile app, and most people now being used to using it. There's a very small learning curve, if at all now. That's always kind of the questions that I ask myself. Like for 1 week-long leadership training that is half days, 7 half days, we used Zoom previously and it was great, and I think it worked really well. But for just the networking section, we're now thinking of the next time we do this, maybe we use one of those spaces where you can move around freely and like when you're closer to another person, you join their table. Or I just saw one where everybody has an old television as a head, like you're this little mini robot that walks around in the space, but your television head is actually your screen. So you can move around. It's a little bit more fun, but maybe also distracting. Like if you just want to get things done, I feel like Zoom has been the place where I go to most of the time.
Well, I'm glad you brought up fun, Jan, because I think that fun is. I love what you said once, Melissa. You said play is how we make work more effective when it's used strategically. And so I'd like to know, like, what's the top level of fun? What's the most fun you've ever had in a Zoom meeting?
It's so funny. Like the first thing I thought of was like, have I laughed so hard I needed to run to the bathroom? Because that would be like the top level. I'm like, how's that happen?
I think the most fun that, oh, go ahead, Jan.
I think for me, it's been about trying to find the right snap camera filter to apply to a conversation that I'm not part of. And thinking especially about one friend of mine. It was like we did a birthday Zoom and everybody came together. Like I like it, Caelan. And now you're totally distracting me. But for this birthday thing, we all just started doing like different backgrounds and effects, and nobody could like stay serious. And yeah, that was definitely one of the most fun.
That's awesome.
I love it. I still have an old computer. I just literally took delivery of a brand new MacBook Pro, but I haven't opened the box yet. It's still in quarantine in my house. So I can't do any of those filters or anything yet. So no Snapchat filters for me yet. You know, maybe as of tomorrow or this week, next week or something. For me, I think the most fun I've had in a Zoom meeting has been my Creative Sandbox retreats that I lead, which are really pure play in Zoom, where I lead people in improv games to get, to send the gremlins off to get pedicures. And, we're just laughing like crazy. And then we make art and together, side by side virtually. And then we come back together and share what we've made. And that's, it's just so amazing to have this sense of connection and community and laughter and games and creativity. And we're still in these Zoom boxes, and yet we have this amazing, amazingness together. That's amazing fun. So that's the most fun I've had on Zoom.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think for me was the thing that's coming to mind anyway is the activity that I just showed you, that code breaker thing. When I learned that from Mark Collard, as I mentioned, and he had done this like small program with a bunch of facilitators and just to kind of test out this whole concept. And so, complete coincidence, I ended up in a breakout room with two people that I knew that I hadn't seen either of them in like 3 years. So that was really fun. And then we're like solving these problems, and we were together in that breaker room for probably about 45 minutes, and I had no clue how long it had been. Completely lost track of time. I think it felt more like 20 minutes because we were just like, okay, what's next? Let's go. And like we were just like zoom, trying to go super fast, and like, I don't know, I love that stuff. So that was a super fun experience.
Zooming in Zoom, that's very meta.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the most fun I ever had was during a quiz night, and it was I was in a 3-day virtual conference, and on like day 2 there was this 10 p.m. come and wear stupid silly costumes and have some drinks, and the host used this app called Kahoot. And Kahoot has everybody use their phone, and they buzz in and do answers, and they, you select multiple choice, and there's a leaderboard, and so it was so interactive, and we had so much fun. And because
we lost Caelan. There he's back.
Oh, he's back.
all the tech challenges today. This is super fun. So Amy, how about you? Do you have a question for the group?
I do have a question. So I am curious. I like to ask questions when I'm facilitating, and I'm curious, what are your favorite questions that you use to get conversation going in a Zoom meeting? Whether it's like the beginning of the meeting or any point in the meeting, what are some of your favorite questions?
I can start. So I have these cards that I don't know if I even showed them to all of you yet, but there's like 3 different levels of questions. They're called Ask Deep questions. And oftentimes I just pick one of the curious cards, which are perfect for like starting off a conversation. They're not as deep, but definitely not your small talk, and just pick a random one. Like this one right now says, what are you most grateful for in your life? I actually just changed that recently to what are you most grateful for in 2020? As we're getting to the end of the year, I oftentimes I like using those questions, but I also like kind of theming them to whatever the topic is or the conversation that is going on. So making it specific to why people are actually here. And then I just brainstorm. Those are actually, there's one more thought, which is getting the conversation that needs to happen out of the way so we can actually have the real conversation.
Nice.
And I've experienced that recently in a breakout room. Patrick Beyond, he is one of the authors of Beyond Leadership, has this really great formula. And one of the first questions he has, you go into a breakout room with a partner, is what's on your mind or what's on your heart? How are you and what's on your mind? Or in Germany would be what's on your heart. And just giving people the space to release something, to talk about something that actually is on their heart or on their mind, to get that out. And once you verbalize it, it kind of dissipates.
Brilliant.
And then in the next round, you can go to like the real stuff. So that's I use a combination of those two. Get the one thing that needs to be talked about out of the way, especially if there's something going on in the world that we might need to talk about. And this year feels like a lot of times I've used that. And then get to kind of some easy questions in the start.
Wow.
Nice. I love that. That's great.
Jan, you're a master of those questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's wonderful.
Melissa or Caelan, any ideas?
One of the things that I've been doing lately is before the meeting officially starts, I like to actually have people draw their answer. I ask what they're hoping to get out of the meeting, out of the summit, and have them draw. It can be either representational or abstract, and people really like that. There we go. And I give them instructions for how to find that annotation tool so that they know how to do that. But
That's awesome. Yeah, I just recently have been doing something similar in a session where I'll put up a coloring page that's related to the topic, and then same thing, just have them start coloring in as the meeting's beginning.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
It's the perfect time to do gingerbread man, Christmas trees, like anything holiday themed. If you're hosting any holiday virtual get-togethers with a team, that's a great time to bring in some themed things to draw.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like that as an opening. What do you hope to get out of this meeting today? Because then it kind of it helps you frame your delivery according to what the people in the room have already said that they want. But if I want more deep questions to go into a breakout room, I use a resource like Jan, your cards, or I've got this link that I'm going to put in chat here on YouTube, so that people who are watching the live stream can see this. There's a list of 36 questions by I can't recall his name right now, Albert something, and it's just these really. Yeah, have you seen this before, Jan?
The 36 questions to fall in love. That's my cards are based on the same research, more or less.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Yeah, so this is, I find this is a really great, when I'm wondering what are we going to do in breakout rooms, I'll look at this list and find something great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I look forward to digging into those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the can I share really quick on those questions, that what makes them so great is the order. And that's the same thing with my cards having the 3 levels. The idea is that Arthur Aaron in his research figured out how 2 people fall in love, and it's the, I mean, he defines it in a really complicated way. The reciprocal, I can't even remember, but basically you share a little bit more with each question. You get a little bit more vulnerable with each step, and that's how 2 people connect the deepest. And so if you go through like a question from the beginning, question from the middle, question from the end, or just the top ones, you'll probably see people opening up really quickly.
Brilliant.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. I love the ideas.
Yeah, lots of great ideas on conversations and games, but let's talk about the tech a little bit. Melissa, what's one of the things that you've been dealing with Zoom tech?
Well, actually, what I've been doing is I recently got a document camera, and I have been playing with analog, bringing analog into my, let's see, in fact, let me share with you. So for example, this is the roadmap for a session that I'm leading on communicating for influence. So instead of, I used to have a roadmap that I did up, I'm obviously a visual person, so instead of having a list of, a bullet point agenda, I had previously done a digital visual roadmap, and I instead drew it into a journal. And the reason that I did that is because I want people to approach my sessions with to know that this is something different. And everybody's so jaded by digital, and we're stuck on Zoom for the foreseeable future. And I want them to feel that this is going to be something different, so that I can walk them through, these are all the different things that we're going to be doing. And they're going to know, even if I don't like beat them over the head with it, they're going to instantly know that this is going to be something different. And this is this is not digital. This is something that was drawn by hand. And the fact that it's in a book rather than just a piece of paper, also, it gives it this 3-dimensional quality to it that instantly feels different. And it's like details like that add something different. And then also things that you can do that are kind of cool with the document camera, which I can't yet do with mine because I have an old computer, but once I have a newer computer, I'll be able to do is, if you see, like, you can do, now you can share, you can grab a stamp tool and share where you're logging in from. Brilliant. And if this is just a screenshot, but these little units in the left-hand corner here, in reality, are little pieces of paper. They're little stickies. So if you were not able to use the annotation tool, I could pick one of those up and represent you by sticking it on the piece of paper for you. So again, this is just a screenshot because my current technology doesn't allow me to do that. But these are the kinds of things that I'm playing with. And then also other things like analog.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. We all have some.
I have to make those now. I'm the only one here without those handheld signs. I'm doing it.
That's awesome.
Brilliant. I love the power of analog that you're bringing to your meetings, Melissa. That's really great. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, and I really like being a super geek about things. And so one of the things that I've been doing is, like if I give somebody, if I say, okay, we're going to do an exercise, instead of sharing my screen and doing things in Zoom, I've actually been sharing slides right here in the screen. So I have to ask people to put me in speaker view. But one of the neat things that this app does, it's called That's actually the name of the app. They believe in having a brand with no vowels. It lets me do a whole lot of different things. And so, for instance, if I'm going to do a break with everyone. Then I could say, okay, everybody, we're going to do a break, and I'll play a qigong routine on video, and then demonstrate it so that people can see. It's a little different than just playing the video. It's more like in the delivery itself. And so this has been one of the tools that I've been working with that's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
So I can share one of the tools that I've been working with. It's actually something that I've developed this year, and I'm super excited about it. So number of years ago, like back in 2012, I developed this deck of cards called Climber cards.
I love your climber card.
I just dropped my mic. Sorry. What not to do. All right. Anyway, so there's a deck of cards, and yeah, I know, Melissa, you have a deck. I don't know if Caelan or Jan, you do. Anyway, so there's all these cards in here, and I developed, pretty much what happened is, like, as soon as the pandemic hit, probably once a day I was getting a question. Hey, do you have these virtual? I really want to use them in a virtual context. So I made an app. So I'm going to throw the link in the chat box, and we can actually use it right now. I'll put it in the YouTube link as well, if I can. And so I want you guys to just go there, and there's a question on the top of the screen. And answer the question. All you have to do is click on the deck of cards, or click on whatever card you want, and I'll put it in my screen so everybody can see as well. All right. So if you're watching and you didn't click on the link, here's what everyone is seeing. They're seeing this deck that looks like what's on my screen, and there's a question there inviting everyone to select a card that represents one change you want to make in your virtual meetings in the next month. And then the way it works is you click on a response. Let's say I'm going to click on these birds, and then your name shows up, and then you can write in your response. I'm going to just go really quick and say, I want to be different. It's not a great answer, but you hit create response, and then you can see all the cards that everyone's responded. And so then from there, it's really about the conversation that you get from there. So often what I'll do is I'll send people into breakout rooms so that they can have a more in-depth conversation. And often the responses that people write are fairly quick. Like right now, all of us just basically wrote a few words, but then it's the conversation afterwards. And what I found really interesting, both with the virtual and the physical in-person deck, is that with the deck of cards, people say more and open up more than they would have otherwise. There's something about this visual, having this like third thing over here that I think sparks some different perspectives and just help people be a little bit more vulnerable and more open. So I'm really excited. These are now released out in the world. I'll put the link in the chat or on YouTube if anybody wants to check them out. You can get a free 30-day trial and play with them, but I'm just super excited about it. So that's what I've been doing on the last 6 months, is working on this app.
Yeah, I'm so with you on the visual, Amy. That's one of the reasons why I love Lego Serious Play, because when people get a chance to create something or interact with a visual or make a model, it's amazing how much it opens them up. They discover insights, and they unlock insights and share things that they wouldn't otherwise. So visuals are so powerful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Jan, what about you?
I'm going to take it in a completely different direction. Again, it's so interesting to see how we're all like innovating in different ways. And I've been spending a lot of time figuring out how can I change up what you're looking at, which is just me talking to the camera, especially when we're doing longer, let's say, keynotes or presentations. And I really did a kind of mini TEDx talk for TEDx Calgary and thought, okay, how can I tell this story? It was pre-recorded. How can I tell this, but not just me sitting in front of the computer? Because of course, ideally, I would have liked to be in a theater with a live audience and you kind of bounce off that audience. But when you're recording in something and you're just talking to the camera, it can get super exhausting. And I just needed for myself to keep it entertaining, but also for the viewer. So I created in Ecamm all these different things. Like I put myself in a laptop and then I was like, hey, are you looking at me? Are you checking emails? I can't tell, right? I talked about this Facebook event that I created, which was the world's largest virtual group hug, and I put myself in there. Then I actually had the event and I was in a Zoom window and I'm like, well, these are some of the people that showed up. And I just started playing around with all these different things. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I haven't actually used yet. So you're going to see some things that might not even work. But I have this whole analogy, which is similar to like that research we talked about the questions, that you can't you can't really jump into the deep, vulnerable question with someone you don't know. You have to go through the different layers. And I describe this as the, let's see if this works. Pressing the button again. The campfire formula, which
cool.
is the idea that you can't hold a lighter to a log and expect it to catch fire. Hopefully my fire alarm doesn't go off. You actually have to start something like paper, and then you add your little sticks, and then you add your kindling, and only at the end you have spent enough time, you're like present enough with another person where the fire that gives you the warmth will become the connection with the other person. So yeah, I've just been playing around with all kinds of these things. Some of them are more fun for like trivia games, and I have to switch my audio here for a second, but I'm not sure if it works well today. So let's see. I added this little drum roll, and then of course we got the buzzers and some applause.
That's awesome.
Magic. So I'll press one more button. Actually, I need to press 2 because I also created this one because it was really awkward to say goodbye on Zoom sometimes. So I just decided to, okay, let me just do this. And by the time this window fills up, I'm gone and I'm like signed off.
How brilliant.
That's so awesome. Zion.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Well, that is a good transition. We've reached the top of the hour. So if anybody is watching the live stream and you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat box if there's anything that you'd like one of us to answer. But you know, I just like to express my gratitude that you have all come to share this time and space with me, because I've really enjoyed this time together. I've learned so much, and I hope that everybody watching has too.
Yeah, thanks to the 16 people who joined in live. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And all the people watching the replay, thank you for showing up too.
This is so awesome. We do have quite a bit of a delay between us talking and what's being projected on YouTube. So if we do really want questions, we should probably hang out for a couple more minutes, or we can just go ahead and wrap up to keep it within our hour.
Well, I can stay on for another couple minutes. Does anybody have a hard stop? We need to stop at the top of the hour?
I've got about 5 more minutes or so.
I have a session I'm supposed to get to.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just echo.
Yeah, let's go around and say goodbyes. Final takeaways.
My final takeaway is to test your tech. I usually test my tech, and I tried some new live streaming tech today without testing it. So I apologize for the difficulties in the beginning. But what I've learned is that you always do a dress rehearsal before you do the live.
Before we move on, there was a request to reintroduce ourselves. So, Caelan, can you reintroduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Caelan Huntress. I am an American digital nomad living in New Zealand, and I train people how to lead better Zoom meetings.
Awesome. My name is Dr. Amy Clymer, and I also teach people how to lead better Zoom meetings, and I facilitate with a number of groups and organizations around the U.S., mostly teaching people how to be more innovative and creative. And the thing that I learned today, so many things, but I'm really curious to dig into those questions that you shared and like the progression of those questions. So that's going to be interesting. Jan.
Nice. And I have the number 3 down here, so I guess I'm next. My name is Jan Keck. I help people feel less alone, and my vision is that more people will be using the technology that maybe right now still kind of keeps us apart more than it just connects us. There's more people like the facilitators here and everyone's watching who uses it for good to be creating these moments where people connect and get things done. And then Zoom fatigue will be a thing of the past because we actually crave connecting with each other and showing up. And one takeaway for me today is, I think this is kind of an ongoing theme with facilitating, especially virtually, where so many things can go wrong, and live streams and tech and all these things, is just have fun with it. Like, yes, things go wrong, but we're not gonna just throw a tantrum and say, but I wanted it to go right. No, we are just going to improvise and make the best of it. And I think that's what resonates with everyone who's watching or experiencing it with us as well.
And I am Melissa Dinwiddie. My company is Creative Sandbox Solutions. I help take the board, B-O-R-E-D, out of virtual boardrooms. And I work with companies on things like communication, communicating for influence, creativity, innovation, things like that. And my takeaway is that every time I get together with really smart, creative people, like the fellow facilitators here, good things happen. So thank you to the facilitators who joined me today, Caelan, Amy, and Jan, and thank you to everybody who joined us live and is watching the recording. And I'm just delighted that we got to do this.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you everybody for attending.